whoever I speak to at Davos says, all the action's happening at Washington. So what kind of, if you can give us your perspective of the world we live in, have we sort of gone from globalization to deglobalization?
The quick answer to that question is not yet. I think the forces of deglobalization have been sort of at work for almost 2 decades now, ever since actually 1.5, since the global financial crisis. You see, that's probably the point at which trade started growing slower than economic growth. Earlier, trade was about twice as fast. You also see that's when investment across borders start falling. FDI as a fraction of GDP starts falling. So it has been underway, but it still doesn't show up hugely in the numbers. So, after the tariffs that the US applied on China, you don't see that Chinese exports have fallen significantly because they've been rerouted through other countries. So countries have found ways around. The challenge with the new US administration is, one, I think the president firmly believes that a trade deficit is a lost opportunity for the US, that by shortening or narrowing the trade deficit, you can bring more jobs back to the US. But also, if you put tariffs on other countries, you can collect revenues, and that can, be a way of reducing taxes. And to some extent, this is about evening the playing field. The only reason the US is importing from other countries is because the other countries are cheating and are cheaper to produce than the US. If the US had a level playing field, it would beat the other countries. There's a mix of these views going on, but it does suggest that there is more room for tariffs in the new administration and broad-based than even in the previous avatar of this administration. That said, I think we have to watch for the policies as they come out. That there's a lot of, pre-election, threats, promises. What actually gets delivered is going to be a negotiation process, both within the administration. There are some pro-trade guys and there's some anti-trade guys. And then between the administration and, for example, other countries. I understand negotiations are already on with China on what actually emerges. Is going to be give and take. I think bottom line, however, is because this is an administration which is not ideologically predisposed towards trade, that there will be disruptions of various kinds. You've already seen the president threaten, because your immigration policies aren't good, I'm going to levy tariffs. Because you're trying to do another currency on your own, I'm going to levy tariffs. So the strongest advocate of free trade, the United States, has turned against it. That is the biggest sort of change in the global economy, which means that there's a lot of uncertainty. And, if you want to have more options where to produce. You want to try and produce in more friendly countries, countries that are not going to turn into countries on the other side quickly. And that's where I think India has an advantage, that it's more neutral, if anything slanted more towards the democracies, and it's a big player. So, there's lots of opportunities in locating there.
Yeah, you've in fact led me to my next question. How is all this going to impact, global supply chains? Are we entering a multipolar economic order? And what opportunity does India have? What opportunity do states like Tamil Nadu have?
I think the view from Washington is that they want it to be still a unipolar with Washington dominant. But you don't achieve that unipolar by, threatening everybody else. Because what happens then is they start forming their own alliances, their own. So, I think the president of the European Union talked about maybe, trying to form stronger alliances with India today. So that's what happens is everybody looks to strengthen their options. when the biggest country, the strongest economy sort of turns more isolationist. I think that's an opportunity for countries like India. Again, I want to say, because it is friendly with some of the major economies of the world, global supply chains are constantly being re-evaluated now, right? If a country like Canada can turn out to be a country you apply tariffs on, even though you're in a free trade sort of USMCA, that would suggest that every supply chain needs multiple options. And options which are diverse. They can't be in the same region. They can't be almost in the same group. They have to be relatively strong countries that can't be imposed on very easily. I think for a variety of reasons, India fits that bill. So we have an opportunity to attract a lot of investment to India as a stable country, stable politics, and a fair amount of continuity in policies, which then makes it attractive.
Right. Dr. Raja, I want to come to you. So, Dr. Rajan has sort of set the tone for the discussion and spoken about how this is an opportunity for India. How is Tamil Nadu going to take advantage of this for companies looking to diversify their supply chains away from, say, China? What opportunity? How are you sort of going to take advantage of this?
I think, thank you. And thanks to Dr. Rajan for coming here and gracing this occasion. Lots of insights, and I'm sure most of the audience is in to hear more from you. But I'll keep it very short. Tamil Nadu has been doing this for the longest time, investing in education. Education is our forte. We've ensured that everybody gets equal opportunity in education. We've also had leaders who've peered into the future and seen where this road to industrialization is going, and we've prepared our talent for that. So I think when this whole China Plus One came up, India became an automatic choice. I personally call it China Plus, and it is actually Chennai Plus Plus. So it became a big growth story for Tamil Nadu because we were prepared. So, and in today's world, loads of uncertainty, amazing, mind-boggling stuff happening with the geopolitical situations. I think being just prepared for everything pays back brilliantly. That's how Tamil Nadu has gained, just by making sure that your talent pool is ready for any or such disruptions in the world, and also on working on our inherent talent, inherent strength as a manufacturing powerhouse. Today, Tamil Nadu is the manufacturing powerhouse. It's the engine that's powering India. 40,000 factories and counting. And when the ESG goals started the world started talking about it, Tamil Nadu already was ready with it. Right, this was inbuilt with the ideology that drove the growth in Tamil Nadu. So we were always ahead of the curve. We were looking into the future, saw where this world is going, and that is why I keep repeating this. But when the IT revolution happened, our leaders wrote about computers and its uses in 1969, when India didn't have many computers, nothing. We were the first to roll out computer education literacy into the school, weave it into the school, into colleges. Tamil Nadu did it first. And so when we didn't become SaaS capital just overnight, just by pulling a few plugs in and pushing it in. No, we were prepared. So Tamil Nadu's story is always about being prepared for the future. And I think that comes from learning from amazing people. If you look at today, we have a financial advisory council, and we have amazing people like Dr. Rajan on board. We learn from people on board. We learn from the world, and we prepare ourselves for the future. And I think being future ready is what Tamil Nadu is today, and that's how we are gaining from all these disruptions in the world.
Right. Even if Tamil Nadu is prepared as a state, do you feel in some sense that you've lost out also on some investments, that some investments perhaps went to Gujarat?
Don't say went to Gujarat. They came here. I know personally where they came and how they went. But we're happy. I in the same stage yesterday, shared the stage with the Honorable Chief Minister of Maharashtra. Amazing human being, again, amazing talent himself. And with him on stage, I told him, I mean, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu, we compete with each other, but for India, right? End of the day, it's all about doing the best for India. If it goes to Gujarat, I'm happy. My point is, take whatever you want to Gujarat. I'm happy. But ensure that thrives there. Let's say an investment comes into India and you want it somewhere. I don't see anything wrong with it. Somebody in power, if someday, if one of somebody from Tamil Nadu becomes prime minister, it should have happened a long time back. I don't know why it hasn't yet. when that happens, you will see more push towards Tamil Nadu or the south at least. Right? That's natural to think of doing something. When you're in India and you're an Indian, you're going out to the world and you're bringing investment, you want to bring it into India. You don't want to bring it to Malaysia, right? I mean, of course, that's done. That's okay. I understand that part. But bring that in investment and ensure that it thrives so that the confidence of the investor increases, that when you're in India, your investment will grow, right? That's all I'm saying. Don't take it to a place where there's no talent to suit that kind of investment leverage, right? To leverage that investment. That is all we are saying. But, and especially tell us if you actually want them earlier, so you don't waste the time talking to them, negotiating incentives and stuff. So, but yet, Tamil Nadu is a resilient state. You could see the bull on my rifle. That's why we're saying bullish on Tamil Nadu. We stay with the bull run. We say that's because
this like the whole
we're resilient.
is
Yeah. You throw any problem at us, we will come up. We will be resilient. We'll go back to the and we'll work on our plans. And again, see, one of it didn't come. We went the manufacturing way. We went towards manufacturing equipment for semiconductors, right? So this state is always looking at the work, the jobs that are being created and not the investment numbers, right? So if you want to do 60, 70 lakh crores worth of fabs, go do it in any state where you can give ultra pure water and whatnot. That's up to you. I mean, I don't have a problem, but on the end of the day, you're only getting 100, 200 jobs. I want something which will give me 1,000, 1,500 high-end, high-paying, high-skilled jobs, R&D, design. Give me that. This is what I'm saying. As India, I think we should work to the strengths of our states. I cannot do refining in my state. I cannot do major refining. I cannot do anything that has something remotely pollutable in my state. But Gujarat has loads of land. You could do loads of that in the Kutch. I'm still saying you should protect the Kutch, but I'm saying. But at least we have areas where you can do a red category. But Tamil Nadu is not a state which you can do. Do Kerala, definitely not. So play to our strengths. Play to the strengths of the states is what I'm saying.
Right. Mr. Roy, in terms of crafting the industrial policy itself, how competitive is it now? I mean, even on the promenade, you have 6 states, and Dr. Rajan is part of the Tamil Nadu Advisory Council. Tata Sons Chairman N. Chandrasekharan, I think, is part of the Andhra Pradesh Advisory Council. And Chandrababu Naidu has sort of been meeting a series of investors. I mean, he's a man with a mission. So how do you sort of ensure that Tamil Nadu remains very competitive in attracting some of these investments? What will be that X factor? You have inherent strengths in terms of skilled workforce, ports and infra. But what else over and above that?
To remain competitive, 2 things we have done. One is we have reduced the cost of doing business by a slew of administrative reforms, which include removing unnecessary approvals, liberalizing, digitizing, making renewals online, automatic, and so on. So that is one part. Second is the incentive part, where all states compete. Here again, we don't have a one-size-fit-all approach. Even in electronics, which is one of our focus areas, there are 2 policies. One is the hardware policy, which is for assembling, which is low value addition sectors, which is more based on incentivizing job creation. On advanced electronics, we have a different policy, which looks more at turnover and capital subsidy and all. And beyond all that, we for each investor we customize based on what the investor is looking at, and when it becomes an overall package, it becomes competitive. For example, something like housing for investors. Some of the major electronic component makers wanted us to invest in housing their workers because there are 40,000 workers in one.
This is what you did with Foxconn.
Foxconn, Tata Electronics, both.
Yeah.
We did. We took a loan from the bank, a commercial project we implemented for them, which saved a lot of capital expenditure for them, and it is a commercial project for us too. So this kind of flexibility has brought in competitiveness in our way of providing incentives.
Right. Dr. Rajan, I want to come. Sorry.
What he's actually saying is that we go way beyond the policy book and we don't tell other states what we're doing.
I was trying to be subtle.
Right. Dr. Rajan, in the past, you've raised concerns about India's job market. So what specific reforms can drive large-scale employment growth? And will this come from a mix of manufacturing and services? If you can give us your perspective.
Well, I think the reality is this is a problem facing every developing country today. And it comes from the fact that the old path for growth, which was manufacturing-led growth, has become much more automated than in the past. Go to any modern factory in India, you will see machine after machine after machine. So the job creation possibilities have diminished somewhat. That's not to say they're not creating jobs. They are creating jobs, but you need many more of that. And that's where services comes in, because services is more of a people-oriented business.
But even that is getting automated with AI agents.
Certainly some parts of services are getting automated. But then there are other parts which are not. And Tamil Nadu has a whole number of GCCs, Global Capability Centers, which utilize our higher quality human capital. Number that guidance puts out sticks in my mind. You can get 50, good quality engineers for $1.2 million a year. Now, where else in the world can you get that kind of quantity and quality at the same time? And this, the point the minister made about, Tamil Nadu being the forefront of education, 20% of top quality institutions in India are in Tamil Nadu. So what you get from that is a key sort of input into production, whether it be manufacturing, whether it be services. The whole idea is that at this point, when you have a lot of automation, what you want is people who look after the machine, who can repair the machine. So good quality ITI graduates or engineers. Yes, there is still scope for unskilled labor or moderately skilled labor. Tamil Nadu women are very, very sought after as part of a disciplined workforce. And so leather, we've got some Taiwanese companies coming in for leather, but also, so I think the point is India needs every job it can get. And so let's create an ecosystem where we can help those jobs emerge. And to some extent, Tamil Nadu offers an example of a state which is doing precisely that. And, one of the things, Mr. Roy, that would be nice to hear is the role of guidance itself as an institution enabling the setting up of industry in Tamil Nadu.
Can I?
Yeah.
Guidance is an institution we are very proud of in Tamil Nadu. Very unique institution.
So you should also be wary. Other states are poaching people from your guidance bureau.
I'll take this. I'll take this.
We would like to contribute to other states.
Being too generous.
I would want to address that. I see a lot of that post online. The MD of guidance, Vishnu, has gone on a sabbatical to study in Harvard. He's going to come back to Tamil Nadu. So he's only going to be better when he comes back. So he's gone there. And B, if you think that you're going to take people from guidance, we are happy. at least now you know that the best in the world is in guidance Tamil Nadu. So you know where to pick your talent from. So we're happy to give to the growth of India. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Mr. Roy, please continue.
So guidance operates primarily in three verticals. First is investment promotion. There we follow a very structured approach. First of all, we create a database of the companies we want to reach out to. Then we pursue it through various channels, and sometimes these relationships are built over several years. We contact somebody, and actual investment happens after 2 or 3 years, but that relationship is maintained. Second is, of course, investment promotion also involves negotiation of incentives, and we allot a dedicated investment facilitator for each investor who comes, who takes them through not only during the investment but post-investment issues. In fact, in some cases, in the case of Ford, we assisted their exit also when they wanted to exit. Of course, they are re-entering. That's a different matter. Second is policy. There's a policy team which does roundtables with the various sectors, practitioners, academicians, investors, and create policies and suggest rule changes, policy changes. Thirdly, and a very important component, is an institution called Work Labs, which works with industry in order to identify the skill gaps. I help them recruit people, do advocacy in terms of syllabus revision and things like that, so that we ensure that there is a continuous supply of good skilled human resources for our industry.
Yeah, I just want to add more to what Dr. Raghuram also pointed out too. When he said the old path is manufacturing and we are deviating away from that with AI intervening, while the entire world is so disturbed about this whole AI disrupting the whole job scenario. Yeah. Tamil Nadu sees us as a huge opportunity, right? And hence we were prepared way before many other states in India. Maybe it's because Chennai is not just Chennai, it's Chen.ai. So we have that inbuilt.
That's a good one. Chen.ai.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't tell the Mumbai about this.
They already have Mum.ai.
So I got there first. So see, that's an opportunity. So we're ahead, right? So we've seen that coming. We have already started, and now we have already tied up with Google to train 2 million of our students coming out of schools and colleges in AI. We want an AI-ready population. We want to reskill people. We want to upskill people and be AI-ready. So when this disruption happens, there's always another way out. There's always another job to do. And just like Sir said, he spoke about operators being needed for machinery. Now with this China Plus One story, there's so much of machinery coming from China, but not so many Chinese trained personnel, right? So you're gonna need more people to service those machinery. So again, with schemes like Nan Mudalvan, which is the skill development corporation's efforts from government of Tamil Nadu, it's a massive skilling effort. It's the largest skilling effort in India, and this is silently working to bridge that gap even before we hit that problem. So being prepared, again, I said that's the strength of TN.
Right. Dr. Rajan, one would say that Apple is perhaps one of the biggest examples, success stories in terms of how this supply chain diversification has worked. I think we recently did a story that they're now India's 5th largest smartphone, and they've been producing a lot in India. What can we learn from that playbook to attract more global companies? Because as you said, it's an opportunity. India is seen as a favorable country that can take advantage of the shifts that we are seeing globally.
Well, I think one of the attractions of India is the Indian market. It's big and growing. And, it's a 4 trillion economy, which is growing at 6%. Yes, the addressable market is smaller because the people who can afford an iPhone is smaller. But it's where else can you get that kind of growth? And hopefully we will grow faster in the years to come. So that's one attraction. I think the second, of course, is, the idea that if you are going to place your China Plus One somewhere, it has to be part of the future, not just a reaction to the present. So I think that is, when you combine the domestic market, which is large, with the fact that you are seeing the supply of workers, the potential aids from the state government and the national government, that it becomes attractive to position your entity there. I think where we have to do more work, and I've talked to people at Apple, is expanding their scope. They started with assembly, they moved to doing more higher value added items, but why not do R&D in India? So we need to make it easier for them to do R&D. Like so many firms are now bringing their R&D operations to India because, again, going back to those good quality, cheap engineers. So can we make it easier for them to do some of their product engineering in India? And, the whole idea is to have a business government dialogue where business says, this is a new thing I want to do, but here are some old regulations which are standing in the way. So what you need is a state government. A lot of the regulations could be also handled at the state level, which is willing to adapt the regulations to the needs of industry, not on a case-by-case basis, but on a general basis to make it easier to do business. So that's an ongoing operation. And I think if you look at some of the legislation that Tamil Nadu has passed, it is an attempt to make the process of doing business more certain and easier.
Dr. Raja, you want to add to that?
I just had one thought. It's just that Dr. Raghuram also spoke about why Apple or any of these giants should not do their R&D itself in India. It's a hugely debatable because, again, they'll have their own protectionism, but why not have our own products? How long are we going to service the world? How long are we going to build for the world? We need to have our own products, and that is why we're pushing for product nation TN, and that is the way forward, is what I think, and that's where I see much bigger value. When the Prime Minister talks about a $5 trillion economy, hitting the 10 trillion, 20 trillion should only be possible when we have our own products for the world and for ourselves. And I think when we can service for the world, when we can do R&D for the world in their countries, why not here? Well, two things is, one, direction from the union or the state, investment from the union and the state. When I say investment in R&D, because R&D takes time. So that person or that team which is involved in R&D needs to have that net, that safety net. He's going to go in at 23, 21 sometimes, and they're going to go into R&D, and they're going to come out with a product at least 10 years down the line. If it is life sciences, it's got to be 16 years. Life sciences, now it's close to about 8 to 10 years, but initially it was 16 years in life sciences. So why didn't we get these products? Our people there are not afraid to fail. We here are not giving that strength and telling them it's okay to fail. Unless you back them and tell them it's okay to fail, you're not going to get products, right? And I think the biggest thing that the government can do is to say, go ahead, we trust your talent, go ahead, it's okay to fail. And I'm sure that even during that failure to go to that target, you will find something for another target. That's how research works, right? The only problem is we don't back them with that one pat on the back and say, okay, take this. This is going to suffice. You're going to be happy with family. That protection this government is going to give. That, the day we do that, China, I mean, they poured in hundreds of billions of dollars into semiconductors. They didn't get there overnight.
Yeah.
They gave that protection. India needs to do that.
Just
sure.
Amplifying on that, part of the support for product development has to be from universities and R&D collaboration. So I want to give an example of one.
Also from the risk capital.
Risk
right?
capital has to come in to fund down the line.
Because we don't see enough happening in the deep tech. I mean, though it's changing, but
it is changing, and risk appetite in India is increasing. You can see the expansion in the individual investment in the stock market. Some of it a little frothy, but short dated stock options is probably not where everybody should be.
Yeah.
But I think the willingness to participate in stocks has increased considerably, which also means funding towards investment funds which fund early stage ventures and all. But the example I want to give is of Agnikul. Yes.
Which incidentally is incubated in IIT Madras.
Well, so I met its founder in IIT Madras.
Srinath, right? Yeah.
And Srinath, and it's sort of a fascinating. It's in IIT Madras Research Park. It's a few rooms, and it's all these young kids sort of tapping away on their laptops because they're sort of designing the systems, the process. Now, one of the interesting things he's done is actually two founders, but I met one of them, is that they've decided to go towards 3D manufacturing. And why that is, it fits with the nature of the product, because the nature of the product is they're trying to customize the rocket to the needs of the satellite they want to launch. So it's everything is 3D printed. The only constraint is it can't be more than 40 centimeters on any side, because that's the capacity of the 3D printer. But, they've put it together. And what is fascinating is this guy, to Dr. Raja's point, is this guy was an insurance executive in the US. And he bombarded university professors saying, I want to come back and build a rocket. Yes. He originally wanted to be an astronaut, decided that wasn't feasible, then wanted to be like Musk, and then decided Musk won't work in India, that he'd do a small rocket. And he bombarded university professors. One professor from IIT Madras was, in his words, stupid enough to respond.
That should have been Ashok Jhunjhunwala. I can't. Satya Chakravarti. Yeah. Okay.
And so they collaborated, and then of course he made use of the talent in ISRO, retired professionals from ISRO who helped. And they came up with this. Now, I think they did their first successful launch.
Suborbital.
Yeah. But talking about that, actually, IIT Madras Research Park is a model that, every city needs to have, because I think Aether also was incubated in IIT Madras Research Park, and look where they are today. But Dr. Roy, Mr. Roy, a follow-up question for you. Dr. Rajan spoke about the boom in GCCs, which is huge. It's actually made up for the somewhat sluggishness that we've seen in IT services hiring. And we've also seen Tamil Nadu take the lead in EVs, right? Ola's factory, Aether, everything is in Tamil Nadu, much to the dislike of the Karnataka state government. But, how are you sort of going to do this when it comes to attracting advanced electronics, semiconductor investments as you move up the value chain?
So for advanced electronics, we have already the advanced electronics and semiconductors policy, which gives a customized package for the advanced electronics part. For semiconductors, we have said that whatever incentives Government of India gives under the semiconductor mission, we would give 50% of it. So it's a very transparent offer for all prospective investors. But incentives is only one part of the story. As I already mentioned, we are in a very structured manner, we are reaching out to likely investors in both advanced electronics and semiconductor space. Particularly in the electronic sector, we are tracking the supply chain of some of the major companies and then reaching out to the component makers. We have had some success.
Anything you want to announce?
I wouldn't want to announce anything. They're quite sensitive. So, but beyond all that, we do a sort of, we keep ourselves prepared, as Honorable Minister was saying, in two senses. One, we keep land ideal land ready for
That's one of
for
the
an
biggest,
advanced electronics,
yeah.
because not every land is suitable. It needs to be near a city. It needs to be in a place where a highly qualified engineer would like to commute to work. So there are certain land parcels we keep reserved for this kind of marquee investments. Secondly, keep the talent ready. As again, it was already mentioned, we have the non-Mudalvan program where modular skills are given to even our engineering and polytechnic students who would constitute a ready workforce. We have the database also, so as and when the investor comes, we can offer them, and that is a big draw for many of our investors.
Right.
Not only in the advanced electronics space, but in the GCC space as well. For GCCs, another thing is grade A office space needs to be made available in Chennai.
Yeah.
So we are embarking on a major program to unlock government lands, like for example, every metro station you can construct vertically. So a special SPV has been constituted to develop grade A workspaces, which should also all be ready in the next 2 to 3 years.
Oh, that's
Like,
amazing.
so when we put in so much of efforts, doing the best of infra, doing everything possible to attract all of them, at the end of the day, the investor comes in and says, but what about nightlife? We can't
Chennai
compare-
has a decent
we can't-
nightlife.
Yeah, but I would just leave it at that. I just we can't do what Bengaluru is doing. We don't have that kind of beer here.
Bengaluru has too much nightlife.
But we have good weather. We could match the weather with Hosuru. So we're building an airport in Hosuru. So please welcome to Hosuru. You can just kind of jump across the border and come to Hosuru. We can only give you the weather, not the beer.
I think Karnataka has some right of first refusal over that second airport. I'm not sure how that's going to pan out. But I think we have about few minutes. But Dr. Rajan, we can't let you go without asking you for your thoughts on the Indian economy. Because if you look at the recent GDP numbers, advanced GDP estimates, not very encouraging. What do you think will help? Even CEOs we've been speaking to say that, there is sluggishness, there is weakness in consumption. So will the magic bullet come from the RBI? Will it come from the budget? What is your sense?
I mean, one quarter's data is hard to interpret. Some of us, I included, have been saying that there is an issue we need to deal with, which has been building up over the last few years. If you think about the last year before the pandemic, our growth was 4.5%. And through the pandemic, we had some terrible quarters, and then we had a strong revival. What is hard to tell is how much of the strong revival was because of the terrible downturn. And I would say that to some extent, the underlying issue is how do we get strong sustainable demand? And strong sustainable demand comes from, confident people. We have confidence at the upper end, the upper middle class, the people who are employed in Bangalore and Chennai. They're confident. It's the lower middle class which has been a little more hesitant because of the job situation. And that's why it's imperative for every state to expand jobs wherever it can, to whatever extent it can. And that's sort of going to be both beneficial for just more investment, more production, more growth, but it also gives more confidence for consumption. And I think the weakness has been displayed initially, we've seen weak lower-end consumption, it's strengthened a little bit, but upper-end consumption has weakened in the last data. Broadly speaking, we need to build more confidence in consumption, which ultimately means jobs, jobs, jobs. That's a single mantra. You saw that in the elections, you see it in every election. And we can't get away from the fact that India needs to employ its young people. That's a talent pool we have, which is an opportunity for all the companies that are thinking of investing in India. But it's also a challenge we have of making those people employable for the companies coming in, which is why schemes like Nan Mudalvan are important, because they bridge that skill gap.
Right.
And that's an
Closing
amazing,
thoughts,
amazing
Dr. Raj,
point
yeah.
that Dr. Rajan also spoke about, making sure consumption is distributed and growth is distributed.
Yeah.
We did that with the neo-tidals. So, we took IT development, IT growth to deeper into Tamil Nadu. We took it to tier 2, tier 3 towns. When we took, we built a tidal park. In tidal park is an IT infrastructure. That's an A grade IT infrastructure in a tier 2 town. We took that to what is the rice bowl of India, Thanjavur. And everybody said, what are you doing building IT infrastructure in Thanjavur? It's a farming paradise, and you'd rather bring some agri-tech industry there. But we built that because we knew those working in Chennai or Coimbatore are all from the Delta and all over Tamil Nadu, because we took education all over Tamil Nadu.
It has very good college,
yes,
engineering college.
Now and colleges everywhere in all corners of Tamil Nadu. So we know that the talent had to have come from all these areas. So when we enabled that location to have an IT infrastructure, believe me, we inaugurated, we finished the building in a year, we inaugurated, and in 10 days it was full. In 10 days now it's full, and now in this budget we're trying to announce another one right next to it because there's so much of demand. So this demand was hidden, but yes, the government knew that it had to be there. So we took it to Karaikudi, we've taken it to Karur, we've taken it to Thoothukudi now. Thoothukudi, even before we opened it, we sold. It was barren salt pans before. We built IT infrastructure there, filled before we opened, before we inaugurated. So the demand, Salem, again, full. Vellore, again, being built, it's full already. So the demand is always there. So, and now I'm here talking to giants in the IT sector, and they've told me that they'll be interested in going to tier 2, 3 cities if we build them, we get them infrastructure. Already we're building a massive tidal park in Madurai, in Trichy. So this, I think, is how this government is looking into the future, enabling we just have to enable the local ecosystem, growth will automatically come.
Superb. On that note, I think we're out of time, but a huge round of applause for all our three speakers. We got some amazing insights, and thank you for being a wonderful audience. Thank you very much.